Fashion is amazing. It is one of the most powerful ways for us to express ourselves, to show some creativity. But where it gets really murky for me is the industry that has grown around it and how that's kind of evolved over the course of my lifetime. Because the truth is, fashion isn't just about selling clothes anymore, whether that comes down to practicality or creativity. It is now about selling a lifestyle. It is about selling a fantasy. And if you look really closely, the message that we see throughout many brands and their counterparts, many influencers, tends to be the same, which is that you're not quite there yet, but if you buy this thing, then maybe you will be. And this kind of messaging, whether it's subtle or not, is rooted in insecurity. And that insecurity is what tends to keep many of us in this vicious cycle of needing to buy more and more and more. So today I'm going to be talking about exactly that, how the fashion industry profits off of our insecurities. And just as a disclaimer, the goal of this video is not to blame or villainize fashion itself. It's really about just diving into the ways that the culture around style is constantly making us feel like we have fallen short. And of course, the effect that that has on how we shop and how we dress and just how we show up in the world. First, I want to talk about the business of insecurity. So I feel like in my lifetime, there was definitely an era, probably around the 2000s and 2010s, where a lot of the criticism for the fashion industry was centered on body image, and obviously for good reason. We were often shown this very narrow definition of what beauty actually looks like, especially with brands like Victoria's Secret, and it morphed this generation of people, especially women, who felt like their bodies were wrong because they didn't look a certain way, myself included. And while the issue of body image is still very relevant today, I do think that the fashion industry has kind of evolved in how they actually take advantage of our insecurities. In some ways, the industry is way more inclusive than they were decades ago. It's way more body positive. And then in other ways, the industry is just even more complicated. Because I feel like right now, the messaging is no longer just about your body. It is now about your life as a whole. It's about who you are as a person. It's about where and how you live. It's about what you can afford. And especially about how you curate the aesthetic of your life. Fashion has expanded from just selling clothing to now selling you this massive identity machine where many brands are pushing you to purchase an image or some type of aspiration. And as vulnerable consumers, including myself, this often looks like buying things to fill a void in order to achieve a fantasy version of ourselves that does not fit into our current life. And that's what really makes this tricky, especially with all the marketing and influencers and everything that we see within our ecosystem today. It makes sense why a lot of these things are hard to resist, but I also believe that doing videos like this and sharing my opinion and my own journey with things like this will help other people realize that you don't really have to be stuck in the vicious cycle. That's basically what this entire channel is about. We're going to dive more into the social media aspect of everything in a few minutes, but first I want to talk about how exactly insecurity is manufactured today. I feel like what's really tricky about the whole insecurity messaging today is that in some ways it's a little bit more subtle. It's more about tapping into the aesthetics, it's more about tapping into the inspiration, as opposed to, brands, I'll say Victoria's Secret again, that were just pushing this one singular message, which was basically to be hot and super skinny. So now, instead of just being told that we're not good enough outright, we are being exposed to portrayals of people who seem to have it all. They have the style, they have the confidence, they have the financial freedom, they have this effortless routine, they have the organized, perfectly clean home, they have this aspirational, perfect relationship. And the unspoken message that we're seeing throughout many of these portrayals is that basically, if you just buy what they buy, then you'll have that life too. And this stretches way beyond the fashion industry, of course. We see it in the beauty industry, in the home industry, things like that. So I feel like there's been this shift throughout recent years where brands have really manufactured this insecurity, not through shame, but now through idealization. They're creating these types of visuals and campaigns and working with different types of people to make us feel like we are falling short of a life that we didn't even know we were supposed to want. And honestly, this is just marketing. Maybe I'm stating the obvious here, but this is just how marketing works nowadays. It feels a little bit more sneaky, a little bit more manipulative. Obviously not with every single brand in the world, but especially with social media, it's very, very obvious. And again, give me a minute and I'll get into the social media aspect of this whole thing. Now, when I was creating my notes for this video, I did have one question that came into my head, which was that how are brands supposed to sell us anything if they're not selling us an idea or an aspiration? And I am definitely on the train of we have way too many brands in this world. We have way too much stuff in this world. So in reality, I would like to see less brands and less items being produced and less things being sold, but that's just not realistic in today's world. So I do think it is a valid question. So I think for me personally, what would attract me to a brand who's trying to sell me something is if they were to show me how the product is functional and versatile without solely trying to sell me this specific lifestyle or fantasy or aesthetic that I apparently will achieve if I own this thing. So instead of brands promoting this idea of like, you see this person right here, you should be like her because of X, Y, and Z. Do you see the life that you can achieve if you just own this product? Do you see the steps that you could get closer to this idea that you have in your head if you just own this one thing? I would rather have brands just be like, if this feels like you, that's great. Here's why it's a really functional and versatile product that's gonna last forever in your life. So now let's talk about how social media actually makes this worse. And this is where I think things get a little bit crazy, to be honest, specifically with influencer marketing, of course. Because yes, brands can definitely create their own independent campaigns using models and mood boards, and they can make you want to buy into that lifestyle. Sure, of course. But things start to shift to a completely different level when they start to use just real people to sell their stuff. And that's exactly what we're seeing. We are seeing quote unquote everyday people, whether that's people who look like us, whether that's people who we look up to, people who share outfit inspo, people who share life advice. We're seeing them kind of pulled into this marketing pipeline. We see this through sponsored posts. We see it through gifting opportunities, of course, but we're also seeing it through UGC, which is user-generated content. And the thing about UGC is that pretty much anybody can do it. You don't have to have thousands and hundreds of thousands or millions of followers in order to be a UGC creator. So when you're scrolling and you see those ads that don't look like ads because they look like they were just filmed on someone's phone in their bathroom, like that's exactly what I mean. Brands have definitely tapped into the opportunity to use everyday people to sell their stuff. I think the thing that makes influencer marketing so effective is also what makes it so confusing to us as consumers, because a lot of it feels super personal, even when it's not. Especially when we are on social media and we're following a handful of people that we really adore, we feel like we actually know them. We feel like we can trust them. So even if you're following somebody who is promoting something and it doesn't feel like an ad or look like an ad, but it is an ad, I can see how that could be really tricky for some people to think, I trust this person, and if I want to be like them or look like them or whatever, then I'm going to trust the products that they're recommending. And that's the part, for me at least, that just feels like a little bit off, because it's no longer about wanting the item because it's going to be useful for you and it's going to serve you well and you're going to be able to use it a ton. It's about wanting the feeling or the lifestyle that is being promoted with this thing. And that is why influencer marketing is everywhere, because it actually works. And I've talked about this a ton, but this is a huge reason why I'm not on social media, because I know that I'm an impressionable person. I don't think I'm as impressionable as I was a few years ago, but I know I'm still impressionable. Most of us are. And so I stay off of social media because I don't want to be dragged into the trap of buying things just to feel like I'm trying to fulfill something. So I feel like everything that I just mentioned kind of leads us to this one point, which is the loop of never having enough, also known as overconsumption. And the problem with everything that I just mentioned is that when you are in it, it doesn't look or feel like overconsumption. It looks like you are just upgrading your wardrobe, or maybe you're investing in timeless pieces, or maybe you are just refreshing your closet for the new season. It feels like it is solving a problem. Like this next item is going to give you the clarity and the confidence, specifically within your wardrobe, but of course this can be within any part of your life. And it'll essentially make you feel and look more put together. But the problem that I see a lot of the times is that the finish line just keeps moving forward and on, and we never actually get to the point where we're like, okay, I feel good with what I have. Because once you buy that one thing that was supposed to elevate your life in one way or another, 14 other things are going to come along within your world, and you're going to say, wow, I don't think I'm going to feel complete if I don't have that other thing. And there will always be a new trend and a new aesthetic that people are promoting or trying to achieve. And it just ends in this really vicious loop. I'm definitely not suggesting that we need to ignore every single marketing message out there, or that we should never ever shop again. Like, that is definitely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we need to recognize when we are being manipulated. And we need to start noticing when a purchase is being driven based on insecurity over intention. Because when you start to recognize how a lot of the messaging within our world is designed to make you question yourself, it becomes a lot easier to pause and actually ask yourself, why do I need this? What purpose is this going to serve? What am I hoping to actually fix with this thing? Is this for the life that I am actually living, or is it for the life that I'm being told I should live? So the more grounded and aware you are of your style and your lifestyle and your values, the easier it becomes to break that loop. I want you to feel like you can evolve, and I want you to have a lot of fun with fashion, but I want you to do it on your terms, not because some external force made you feel like you have to. All right, you guys, there's my little rant. As always, feel free to leave a kind comment down below. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. If you want to see any more videos around this type of subject, let me know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.